And this next one, this is a really intriguing fight right here. A flyweight bout between the hometown guy, Charles Johnson, taking on Jake Hadley. And Charles Johnson, he's been a guy that's been a little bit frustrating in the UFC because you see the skill level that he has, you see his ability, but he's just been on the wrong side of decisions, and his inactivity has cost him in certain fights. But his last fight, we saw his potential come to fruition. He went in there against an undefeated guy in Azat Maxim. And it wasn't an easy night in the office either. I mean, that first round, he really got beat up pretty bad. He got dropped. He got hurt a couple times, but rallied, won the second round, won the third round, got that victory. And now he's looking to build some momentum and kind of potentially get back into these marquee fights against some of these opponents that he's lost to already. And in front of him is going to be Jake Hadley, who's coming in here off of a loss. His last fight was against Cody Durden. And that fight was a little bit ago at this point, so it's been a decent layoff for Hadley. But he fought in that fight with Durden, and it was a good fight. I mean, he had Durden in some big trouble in a couple moments, almost submitted him, but ultimately he couldn't get the finish, and Durden was just able to outwork him on the feet and take him down and grind him out as well. So impressive performance from Cody Durden, but Jake Hadley had nothing to hold his head down about on that night, and now he's going to be trying to come out here and get a big-time win over the former LFA champ Charles Johnson. But you look at how these guys match up, I mean, very good matchup. I like both these guys boxing. Jake Hadley, he also kind of uses that Philly shell kind of defense, and he'll slip and rip. He has a good jab, good straight overhand right. He attacks the body really well and very aggressive early. And that's something that could potentially come into play in this fight, because you look at Charles Johnson, his last fight, and a couple of his other previous fights, he gets hit early and he can get rocked early. And as you get older, Charles Johnson's done a really good job of recovering and then coming back into the fight after that happens. But you could potentially end up getting finished one of these times if you keep getting rocked and hurt early in the fight. And Hadley is someone that comes out really hard and tries to finish you in that first round. I believe the majority of his wins are first-round finishes, so I wouldn't be shocked if he came out here and kind of steamrolled Johnson if he can land a big shot early. But if he doesn't, then the striking is definitely going to more than likely be competitive. Because you look at Charles Johnson, once he starts to get his range, get his rhythm, he could put combinations together. And Hadley, even though he has decent defense, it's not the greatest. So I definitely think Charles Johnson could land. And as the fight goes on, Charles Johnson tends to up his volume and build on the numbers, whereas Hadley doesn't have as much experience in these longer fights. So it definitely could play out close if it stays standing and goes a full 15 minutes. And as far as the wrestling, the grappling goes, I feel like Hadley has the better offensive submission game. Like, he is very good at catching submissions and scrambles. He attacks and goes all out for him. Whereas Charles Johnson, you don't usually see him attacking very many subs. It's more defensive grappling, which his defensive grappling is really good. And sometimes he'll mix in the takedowns, but I feel like both these guys don't have the greatest takedown defense, but they're dangerous if you do take him down, especially Hadley. So I don't know if Johnson's going to want to take him down and be in his guard or kind of initiate scrambles and things like that. So I expect Johnson more to want to keep it on the feet, where I think Jake Hadley will be a little bit more willing to make it more of a wrestling, grappling fight and may have that game plan in his mind coming in here. But it's a tough one. I'm going to go with Jake Hadley. I feel like it's a close fight, and I'm going to go with the younger guy that I think could have improved during this time off. Maybe that loss to Durden kind of got him hungry back in the gym, and we're going to see a better version of Hadley here. So Charles Johnson, he also has that motivation to fight in front of his home crowd, but I just think Hadley is going to win this one. So give me Jake Hadley in this fight.